Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining. It's mid-July, and I thought it was about time for a tank talk. But this time, instead of doing one, I'm going to run through and tell you about each of my indoor aquariums. So starting with this one over here, A. That's because it is tank A. This is the first one I've had in this house. So it's been here since like 2013, 14, something like that. It is a 55-gallon standard display tank. Currently it's set up roughly as a South American biotope. It has about 100 endlers, 4 green or bronze corydoras. Let me see if I can find one of those. There's a cory right there. And another. They're all reproducing in the tank. There are also glow light tetras in here. They're sort of hard to see in amongst the sea of endlers, but beyond that, there are quite a few plants, and the plants are really my gig. That's what I like a lot. So there are things like Amazon swords, that's mermaid weed. Here is Cabamba caroliniana, or actually no, that's aquatica, green. This guy here, actually not sure what it is. It's locally collected. I think it may be in the Tradescantia family. Cabamba caroliniana is the darker Cabamba in the back there. This plant next to it is Amaranthus spinosus, known as the spiny amaranth. That was locally collected. Down here is a really sad Alternanthera. That's the Rosanervig. Like pink, and it just didn't go very well in this aquarium. So whatever, there are a lot of other Alternanthera renici, same species, but this is a different variety cultivar. This is just kind of the standard stuff. A lot of people call it AR. Now it seems to be doing well. Usually this plant likes to sit, hang out, have some pretty good light on it, and just chill for a while. Then it starts fluffing up, like you can see here, and growing. Now I'd like to show you something. This has staghorn algae growing all around it, and I'm leaving it. I'm just going to leave it. I don't think it's any threat, and I think it's a cool part of the ecosystem. Next to it over here, Storingen ripens. These were started from tissue culture, and they're a couple, I say a couple, they're probably a couple of months old from the time that I put them in the tank out of the tissue culture cup, and they're growing okay. This tank has very low nitrates, and which is odd because it's got a pretty large number of fish, but the mass of the fish is really low, especially compared to the tank, and especially even compared to the plant mass. Some of these other things you see written here, Alternanthera phylloxetes, that's a relative of these guys down here. But it's this thing that's growing tall and so incredibly dissimilar to the plant it's related to. Here's another bit of it growing over here, and I've got it in a couple of other tanks as well. That was locally collected also here in Central Arkansas. Does fine in an aquarium. This down here is another Amaranthus spinosus. That is an Amaranthus spinosus. This guy that's kind of spindly up through here, that's Ludwigia ovalis. It's kind of a pale yellow, and it really wants a lot of light. So you can see it's really leggy and stretching out and trying to get up to the top. And that's also something that the Amaranthus spinosus plant, or sorry, not that, the Alternanthera phylloxetes here is doing. It wants to reach up and really hit the surface. What else is in here that's interesting? I think that's hemp dogbane down here. And there's some flame moss as well. And I've only got a couple of types of American mosses. Actually, down here's the broken biotope for sure. That's a little bit of water sprite, which is like a Indian subcontinent, Asian, maybe, I think it's Indian plant. But there's also a little bit of duckweed on top, and that's kind of it for this tank. I think it's time to move along to tank B, which is the second one I got. Not that one. It's down here in my kiddo's room. So this is our gourami tank, and It's a 29-gallon, very similar planted freshwater tank. This is an Indian biotope, so it has fish, snails, plants, and such that are native to India. What all's in there? Hygrophila deformis, Mirios, Rotala, Rotundifolia. There are a couple of broken bits. There's like a Java fern in there hanging out on top of that rock, kind of mid-screen now. That is not truly an Indian plant. I'm sure it would grow fine in India, but it's not from India. These gouramis do a lot of picking and pulling, and the ram's horn snails that they're buddies with in here, sorry for the reflection, they do some ravaging on the plants a little bit. This tank had quite a few snails in it for a little bit, and the population explosion sort of, I noticed I wasn't really feeding the overall tank as much as I should have been given the large population of snails, and I was doing that because I was trying to just learn something about the gouramis, but I found that I just wasn't feeding the tank enough, and as a result the large population of snails started decreasing and they began eating the plants. So I'm several weeks into noticing that and kind of fighting back on the plants getting destroyed by the snails, the plants getting destroyed by the gouramis, the plants getting destroyed by whatever else, not really having enough light. Now, something I've done just a moment ago is come through, and this is one of my last remaining, I think I've got 3 fluorescent tubes on 14 tanks. So I use light as I can, but most of this light is LED, and this tank could use maybe a little bit more light. I would like it if it had a little more light, but right now it doesn't, and I'm thinking that if I put an LED strip in where that fluorescent tube is, maybe it'll solve the problem. So that's tank B. Thanks for checking with that. So let's go back out here and find tank C. It's over here in my aquarium hole. This is kind of where I keep all of my aquarium equipment and stuff. But this tank is a lot different than it used to be, and different than just about anything else I do. I can't totally say that, but this is my attempt at, yeah, there's old lady Molly. This is great grandma Molly. She has had many fish, but she's, for the last year or so, had dropsy and has just had that balloon look, and she's in there with one of her offspring hanging out. And also, this was my quarantine tank. It's a 20-gallon long. It is just a almost substrateless tank. It's got river stream rocks and some gravel strewn about, and for a while now, anytime I found staghorn algae in anything, which is new to me, I haven't had this stuff before a couple of months ago, so I thought it was kind of cool, and I actually propagated it, and I've been testing how this stuff works and looks and how it's going to operate down here in this tank, and I think it's kind of cool. This is sort of the timeout tank for some other guys, Serpi tetras, and there are neons in there. There are some bristlenose plecos. What else is in there? Harlequin rasboras, but everybody kind of hides. They've got lots of hiding places. So the mollies are really the ones that come out and show themselves. And if that isn't just my saddest looking fish, I don't know what to say. But I don't know what I can do for her, and she's still alive and kicking. So that's tank C. And let's move along to tank D now, which is right over here. Yes, with the goofy hang-on back in the front of it. Tank D is a 20-gallon tall guppy tank. The guppies are the only fish in here. There are lots of guppies in here. I think I counted earlier, and probably they're a little over 40 right now. Anyway, I showed a video from earlier today that included me feeding these guys some mosquitoes, but it was kind of a small harvest. So anyway, let's take a look down in here. This is I mean, you can tell it's a pretty heavily planted tank for its size, And the reason for that is I want the baby guppies to be able to actually survive. So they need some places to hide from their bigger kin. And down in this big wad of Java moss down here that covers most of the bottom of the aquarium, at least on this side, they've got some opportunity to hide. There's one of my only crypts down there. I can't claim to be a crypt keeper, but that's one of my only crypts right there. Not doing a lot, but I'm enjoying it. It was sent to me pretty recently by a friend, and I appreciated it. What else is back here? I think there's some interesting wild collected Ludwigia or something back. Where is it? Yeah, right down there. Hard to see, but yeah, that's wild collected Arkansas Ludwigia. And I'm not sure what species it is at the moment, but it's not ovalis, which I have otherwise identified. I think is pretty cool and would like to try to grow a little better. So anyway, this tank has a one LED light strip, a Haiger 24/7, and then it's got another, you can kind of see the pink light. That's from this fluorescent T12 grow light, and I really like that pink glow on the redfish. It just makes them pop. When I take that light away, it doesn't do as well. The plants don't do as well. The fish don't look as good. Everything's just a problem. The goofy part about this aquarium is I have this hang-on back sitting here, and I haven't really found a solution for it because I don't have a filter I like as much that will fit up under that. So this is tank D. What's next? Tank E is up here. Tank E is another 55-gallon. This is my North American biotope with a couple of quick exceptions that I'll be removing sometime. There's Hygrophila deformis up here, and there's also Rotala rotundifolia, and those are definitely not North American plants. Otherwise, it's got some stuff like this plant here does not exist in nature. It's a hybrid flame sword, and some S. ripens down there. Kabamba green and Kabamba purple, both in this tank. What else? There's Ludwigia ripens back in the back here. I think that's pretty cool. Then my little section of non-North American plants, the Java moss, but also the Rotala rotundifolia and the hygro plants. There is some frog bit growing in it. That's a South American plant. It's whatever, I'll pull it. Also there is duckweed. So moving across down into this area, I've got a big patch of Java moss here, and that's snail eggs on the glass. And also I didn't really scrub the glass on this tank because I noticed there were a few patches of snail eggs and I didn't want to kill them. There are 3 species of snails in here: pond snails, ram's horn snails, which are not North American, and Malaysian trumpet snails, which are not North American, quite obviously by the name. The moss over here is phoenix moss. There's another patch of it growing, where is it? Right there. So that is a North American moss. The dwarf chain swords, I think these are narrow leaf, are North American. The Bacopa caroliniana growing up through here, as well as the Kabambas, are all found in North America. Down in this area, where is it? Mermaid weed, where are you? Let's see, that guy right there. That is a North American native as well, and there are just a couple of spots in this tank where that stuff's growing. I've just moved it recently, but anyway, the vines and rocks are North American. So these vines are a very hard vine that does not seem to soften with age. So I thought they would be kind of cool, and collected them locally from my backyard, placed them in here. Who knows, I might even end up with some more later. Now, we just talked about tank E. Where's tank F? Let's see here. F is, F might be outside. Let's see. But we can talk about tank G. So tank G is another 55-gallon tank, and it's one of my favorite sizes, at least for having in a house. But this one is one of my only gravel tank or gravel substrate tanks. And this is sometimes a high-tech tank, sometimes I just don't refill my stuff. It has one small hang-on back and one like sun type pump in here, jet that's just sort of getting some circulation around. Now the reason for that is because this tank is very obviously heavily planted. This is kind of a I've referred to it as my mothership tank before, because this was the tank that for a long time, anytime I got a new plant, I put it in here to make it grow really well, because I was dosing and there was fertilizers and lots of light, and over time I just kind of faded on the CO2, faded on the ferts, and just let the tank go. But it's a great tank for growing guppies. This is where my blue and black guppies for the most part hang out. And that stuff written there is just stuff I need to buy. So, yeah, you can ignore it if you want. But there are a couple of guppies in here that are older guys that really aren't great displays. And getting their fins nipped out a little bit, like that dude. So, anyway, yeah, I'm aware. But I like him a lot, and he's not coming out of his home. So, I don't think he's infected. I just think he's... his fin type is quite susceptible to nippage. There are lots of babies in here. Let's see if we can get looks down in this stuff. So they're still learning how to frolic in their little jet stream that has just been created. But there are also a lot of bristlenose plecos in here that do reproduce. And there are a lot of caves for them. Like there's a cave. They love hiding down in there. There are caves down in here. There are caves under this stuff. Let's see if I can... I might not be able to show you. Anyway, there's some clay watering spikes down under there that they can go hide in that are about their length. They're kind of maybe even blocked off right now. There's another one that's not shrouded. And you can see baby guppies just all over the place. So, yeah, this is just a mix-match community tank, and that's cool, but it's got a lot of guppies in it, mostly blue and black. A lot of them are half blacks. I like them. They're pretty cool. So this is tank G, and it has two lights, a 24/7 old Aquaneat and a shop light. Just today I removed the third light from this. I thought it was a little too much. And if you look, I was getting, let's see if we can get some of this. I was getting some staghorn algae. This is the first tank I noticed that I had staghorn algae in. And my goofiness was like, oh yay, something I've never seen before, cool. So I let it go and enjoyed it for a while. There's some. So yeah, staghorn algae floating in the stuff. But anyway, I let it go and watched it for a while and enjoyed it and noticed that it had some perks and benefits. Excuse me. And then I moved it over to the other little tank over there. But also, I moved them over into some of this stuff. Now, check this out. I changed something. This is tank I. Up until today, this is what I called my ultra low tech tank. Now I've got a 30-watt spotlight that came off of my other tank. So I was just telling you I removed the third light from the other tank. This is where it went. And the reason for that is my plants were just doing badly. Even though this is a south-facing window, it was not getting enough sunlight. The plants above it weren't getting enough sunlight, and those little things, my toys and experiments and such. And I wanted my experiments and toys to do well. So this has a lot of baby endlers in it. They are not very old. I'm going to say they were born this week. And sorry for the zoom and trying to get that. But yeah, you can see like those are juvenile endlers. Like the medium-sized ones, those are babies. And let's see. those are still kind of they're adults, but they're not like there's a normal size female down there, and so the others, they're babies, and they're pretty cute, and they're just all over the place in this tank. And I decided I liked a lot of light over here and wanted to see the fish more, so I just put the extra light from the other tank over here, and maybe that will help this tank. And so I've got to, admit, I went back on my word saying I was going to keep this an ultra low tech tank, despite the fact that it had a filter. And my reasoning for that is my low tech stuff's outside. I've got a greenhouse with aquariums and bins and stuff, and that stuff is zero energy input. This already had some energy input, and I could make it do better. And I'm going to start stacking some plants in there. So now that we have discussed tank I, let's see if we can find another letter from the thing. Yeah, you can see my cats destroy my blinds. But anyway, this is tank J. And this is another 20-gallon tall guppy tank. This is my yellow guppies. And I didn't mention that on tank E up here, this is mostly my orange guppies, but also a lot of just mutts. Anything that's not red and not yellow, but something in between goes up there. Down here, I tried to put my yellow guppies. But as it turned out, I put a juvenile male that hadn't yet colored up. And let me see if I can find what he turned into. Where is he? Oh, there he is, right there. So that dude, who's awesome, and I've had several generations of these guys, I just didn't realize he was in there. So the fish next to him is another male. That's a younger one that hasn't colored up yet. So this is, I love this stage of this fish. Let's see if I can get it to turn to the side. A little more, buddy. Turn a little more for us. No, I don't have any food right now. There, well, whatever. Bad lighting. So there are a few fish in here like that, and anyway, he's got a little bit of orange on him, so I ended up with more orange gups than I thought. And whatevs, that's fine. So I'm enjoying this tank quite a bit. I recently harvested some of the, what was it, the kabamba, like this plant here. I took 4 kabamba cuttings, and they're of at least 2 different types, and stuck them in here because my guppy fry just weren't really. First, I couldn't figure out why I wasn't getting any. Then I realized, oh, I think they're getting munched by their parents and aunts and uncles and stuff. So I just stuck some more plants in there. And this aquarium is just now getting to the point where I think it's dense enough to allow some fry a decent chance, but still not quite where I'd like it. Let me show you back on this aquarium over here. This level of underwater forestation is the kind of stuff that allows guppy fry to do great. They can hide from the bigger ones. They can get around. They've got lots and lots of, places to hide. But then we go over to this tank over here, and they just don't quite have that. Even with what I added today, they just don't quite have that level of bushiness to dive through. So I'm going to be working on improving the jungle over here and just see how it goes. So that's tank J. And I think that's it for the inside tanks. Thanks for sticking with me. This was a longer video than I anticipated, but that is a general walkthrough tank talk for all my inside aquariums. Thanks. I hope you guys have a good day. Give me a like or subscribe if you stuck with me. Catch you later.